Welcome to the Resilience Series. I'm Stephanie Weaver, the author of the Migraine Relief Plan and the Migraine Relief Plan Cookbook that's coming out in 2022. And for that project, I've been interviewing a variety of people about the topic of resilience. And my guest today is Cynthia James. Cynthia is a coach, counselor, and motivational speaker based in the Denver, Colorado area. Welcome, Cynthia.
Thank you, Stephanie. Great to be here.
It's great to see your smiling face. So we're going to jump. So I worked with Cynthia as her speaker coach for a TEDx talk speech that she gave in Scottsdale. And through that, I learned her story. So that's why I invited her to be here. And so I want you to start by telling us kind of briefly about your background in familial trauma, because one of the things that we know about migraine is that there's a very high percentage of people experience some kind of trauma as a young person or a child. They don't know the relationship yet between those two things, but certainly when you and I were talking, even though you don't experience migraine, I just thought you would just be interesting to kind of speak on that. So tell us about the family trauma that you kind of learned about and how that's then affected your life.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about this. So I actually come from 5 generations of women who were abused and traumatized, from a great-great-grandmother who was brought to the United States as a slave and raped by the plantation owner and hated her child. And then that just led to generation after generation of abuse and trauma because it was encoded in the DNA. And so for me, being a kid, my mother it was at a time when women really felt like the only way they could be safe was to be married. And so, but the people she chose, my biological father was an alcoholic and floated in and out, and my stepfather was a pedophile and a wife beater. And so the trauma of my childhood, there was a lot of violence, and the being molested actually did not come back into my conscious awareness until I was in my late 20s, early 30s in therapy, because I kept having crazy relationships and I started having memories. And I was so grateful that my mother was still alive and that I could ask her, because when I started asking the questions and describing what I was seeing, she began to sob and say, I didn't think you'd remember. And I didn't know the part about the molestation. She just knew the violent part. And so that began a journey for me of like healing not only me, but my ancestral bonds.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that. And you and I had not talked about this particular thing. And so I'm just going to share that is my story as well. I was in my 30s before my memories of my sexual abuse came back. So it is, so if anybody's watching and any of this is resonating, first of all, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you if you don't remember. It's 20 to 40% of childhood sexual abuse survivors have no memory of what happened to them. And kind of my belief is that it's not until we're strong enough to deal with the memories that they're able to come back. So I think you and I both did a lot of work on ourselves and healing ourselves, and then we're able to face that. And it's a difficult thing, but I think we both can attest that it's worth it to go through it, because then once you're on the other side of it, you're stronger, and you're also not kind of imprisoned by that experience anymore.
Absolutely.
So thank you for sharing that. Your story, which I'm going to share a little bit about, you always wanted to be an actor, and you went through all the challenges of that, but you eventually got a part on, is it Days of Our Lives?
Days of Our Lives.
And because of that, then you were able to afford to go to therapy. So one of the things that is for sure a challenge in the US is that healthcare is so messed up. And I'm doing a whole series on Instagram about how messed up our system is. And but that was a real shift for you, because you were able to start really caring for yourself and kind of even understanding and unpacking kind of what some of the things that happened to you. So how old were you when you started to practice radical self-care, and what did that look like for you?
I was in my mid 30s, Um, and it looked like a lot of different things. And I want to say there were levels of it because I didn't learn every lesson while I was going through it. And so I would practice radical self-care, then I'd think I had arrived, and then I'd go back to old behaviors, and then something else would come in. So that, but it started in the mid 30s, and it was really about looking at if the women in my family left overweight, ill, depressed, you know, and I couldn't, the weight issue didn't come in until later when my hormones started changing, but I could watch my emotional states go up and down. I could watch myself being moody and you know, being ever so loving and then being a crazy person and then hate being judged. And so I started at that time meditating because meditating was one of the only things that could help calm me down and keep me in a relaxed state. And so doing meditating and also working out, because when I went into therapy, one of the things he said is that if we don't move the energy, it just comes out and moves to another place in the body. So I started walking. I just started walking. It started out to be 10 minutes, then it was 30, and then, you know, it was an hour, hour and a half walking just to move the energy. And it wasn't until later, till I was in my 40s, that I really started looking at food, because when your metabolism is high, you eat everything and nothing happens. When your hormones change, well, that's a whole nother story. And I started to see myself becoming the women in my family.
Okay, great. And so, what do you want people to know about resilience? You're a coach, so you've worked with a lot of people, and you also are extremely resilient yourself. So, what kinds of things do you want to share about that?
I guess the first thing I want to tell you is that you have everything that you need within you. That you came here as a unique imprint, that you're brilliant, that you're powerful, there's no one else like you, and that anything that has happened to you does not define you. You get to choose. And so what I want to say about resilience is, you know, it's like when you watch athletes, you know, skaters, they skate, they try a jump and they fall down. They skate, they try a jump and they fall down, but they get back up. And so that's the thing. It's like, get back up, you know, and then choose differently. Because when I started looking at all the relationships I had chosen that didn't support me and were really playing out my childhood drama and trauma, I was like, okay, I'm the common denominator here. I get to choose differently. And so you get to decide what you want, how you want to feel, what kind of people you want to have around you, how you want to experience life, and then you get to choose it. I had a client this morning that I was working with, and she's young and she's been in this crazy relationship with this person. And I said, when do you get to choose you? And then the conversation came up. I'm afraid to step out because I'm familiar with this,
Hmm.
but I'm not familiar with this. And that's true. You don't know what's coming. But what you do know is that there are possibilities and potentialities out there that are extraordinary.
Hmm. And, I think we can all recognize when we've been involved with patterns that aren't helpful to us. And it's that moment of, oh, the common denominator is me. So I can keep doing this same thing, or I can choose something different. And I don't know what that path looks like, but this path has not been working so well for me. And there is a point, I think, when we all have to get to that and say, yeah, I want something different than this. And it is just even a small step. So did you make an internal shift at some point in your life into a role of self-advocate? And how did that play into your own wellness journey?
You know, it happened a few times. I would choose me, and then, like I said, I would think I was had arrived and everything was great, and then I would stop doing the things that supported me, and then I would fall back into it. And it wasn't until I was going through a really challenging divorce, and it was public, and you know the kids were struggling, and I, as I was sitting in my friend's house sobbing, unable to get up, I was really questioning the universe. I was saying, you know, why is this happening to me? You know, I've done work. Why is this happening to me? And there's a song called Everything Must Change. And it came into my mind And as the song was running, it was like I heard a voice within say, you have always reinvented yourself. Get up. And so that moment became like a visualization for my life. Every time I would feel like I had gone back 5 steps, I would, everything's going to change. Everything must change. What do I choose today? And so that became my mantra. It's like, what do I choose today to love me, honor me, support me, to bring my gifts to the planet? I consider myself a miraculous unfolding because based on where I came from to where I am today, that had to be me surrendering into the miraculous nature of the universe. It had to be.
That's great. So what are some self-care resilience strategies that you personally find helpful?
Well, for me, meditation and some kind of spiritual practice. I mean, that, you know, that can be journaling, that can be listening to music, that can be listening to a CD or a meditation CD, a guided meditation, something to get you back to center. And then the second thing is move your body. I feel like movement is medicine. And so it could be yoga, it could be dance, it could be hiking, it could be riding your bike. It doesn't matter what it is, but moving your body to get that energy out. And then surrounding yourself with things that support you. You know, I believe that the environment has great impact. And so creating an environment that feels beautiful to you, that feels nurturing to you, that feels honoring is extraordinary. And the other thing is surround yourself with people that are like-minded, that will not co-sign your stuff, and that will, and that will stand with you in your power and invite you to leap, knowing the net will appear.
Great, thank you. Any final thoughts on resilience before I let you go?
There's nothing against you. I guess I really feel that no matter what stuff looks like, no matter what it feels like, there's a universe that's celebrating you and conspiring for you. Lean into it and extraordinary things will happen.
That's awesome. What a great place to stop. Cynthia, thank you again for being here today and sharing your story. Please visit cynthiajames.net to learn more about her work and her offerings. She is for hire, and she also has some really amazing upcoming retreats that you should check out. Also, please check out other episodes of the Resilience series on Facebook Watch, IGTV, and YouTube, and follow me at sweavermph to learn more about my other projects, including my upcoming book, The Migraine Relief Plan Cookbook, which will be out in spring 2022 from Surrey Books. Thank you for watching.